This what if is on What If Naruto Had a Sister Part 2. The like goal for this video is 37 likes. Sooner the like jail is meet sooner I will upload the next part for this what. If you enjoy this what if, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Disclaimer, I don't own Naruto nor this what if. 7 years after the Kyuubi attack, 3 years after Naruto's induction as Anbu. Uchiha-chan. Naruto was woken up by his little sister's shout and the excited pitter-patter of her little footsteps which rang throughout the hallway. He groaned as he turned in his bed, trying to protect his blue eyes from the rays of sunlight which threatened to wake him up for the day with finality, using his blanket to cover his face. Perhaps he could still go back to sleep. It proved futile when a red mass of excitement leapt up into the air and body slammed him. Uchiha-chan. It's my birthday. My birthday. I'm finally turning 7. You know what that means, right? Right? Narumi rattled out rapidly. Happy birthday, Narumi-chan. Naruto drawled out in a voice still slurred by sleepiness as he rubbed the sleep off his eyes. He shouldn't have stayed up so late last night, but he had to get all the work out of the way to clear his schedule for today. Thanks. Now hurry up and get ready. I'm hungry, Uchiha-chan. And you said I got to choose what we have for breakfast. Narumi nagged as she jumped up and down on her brother's bed to wake him up. Fine, I'm up. Naruto sighed as he resigned himself to his fate. Would it kill Kami if he got more than 6 hours of sleep for once? Let me guess, Ikaraku's. You know it. I'm already ready to go, so you need to hurry up. Narumi continued to pester Naruto as he started to change his clothes. Did you brush your teeth? Wash your face? That's what you're gonna wear outside? Naruto went through her morning checklist. Yup, and yup. Narumi replied with a wide smile, showing she was ready to go. Fine. Put on a jacket though. It's October. Chilly outside these days. Naruto advised her, similar to how his parents once did for him. Also, you were planning to out with your hair like that? The little redhead gave a cute pout. Hey. I was waiting for you to get your lazy butt up so you can brush my hair like you always do. Naruto chuckled. He loved to rile up his little sister. Her reactions were too cute. Fine. Bring me your brush while I finish up getting ready. A few minutes later, they were in the living room. Naruto sat on the couch with Narumi's brush as Narumi sat on the floor, with her back facing her older brother so he could brush her long, red hair. So, after breakfast at Ikaraku's, what do you want to do? Naruto asked as he brushed away. When Naruto wasn't away on missions, this is how they started their day, Naruto going over what he had for the day, and asking Narumi if she slept well, and asking about her plans for the day. Well, since the party starts at 5, I want to play with my friends until then. You think I can go to the rides at the festival this year? Narumi asked her brother, hoping to receive affirmation. You can hang out with your friends for a bit after breakfast. But don't go to the festival. I want you to come back home by 4 though. Naruto told her, as he finished brushing her hair and pinned her bangs to the sides to frame her face. She looked just like Kushina when she was younger. Fine. No festival then. Now let's go. Narumi jumped up and pulled Naruto out the door. At Ikaraku's. Hi old man. Ayame-chan. Narumi greeted cheerfully, as she sat on her designated spot. The proprietor of the ramen stand and his daughter smiled warmly at their favorite customer and greeted her back. Happy birthday, Narumi. You're already 7 now. Growing up so quickly. Seems like it was just yesterday when you came to our store for the first time and had your first 3 bowls of ramen. Ayame chuckled with a hand covering her mouth as she remembered Narumi's expression when Narumi's eyes were first opened to the ambrosia of the gods that was known as ramen. Hello Taki-san, Ayame-san. Naruto greeted the two in a more polite greeting as he sat down next to the birthday girl. Welcome to the Ikaraku's, Naruto. The ramen chef warmly greeted. What can we get you two? I'll have 3 portions of the pork miso ramen, with extra pork, as usual. As for Narumi, it's her birthday, so can we get something special for her? the blonde Anbu asked as he made his own order. Something special, huh? Well, luckily for you, we got just the thing. How would you like the Narumi birthday special? Taki presented with pride in his voice. Narumi birthday special? Is that a new menu item? Naruto asked, hearing about this for the first time. Yes. Yes. That's the one I want. My birthday special. I get my own ramen named after me? This is awesome. Best birthday ever. Narumi was jumping in her chair in excitement. Well, we kinda just came up with it. Well, by we, I mean me. Anyway, it's a premium ramen with a pork broth and miso base, but with 7 servings of noodles, 7 soy marinated hard-boiled eggs, and 49 slices of chashu pork slices. It's served in the don't-eating bowl. Duki beamed in pride, with a gleaming smile that was reminiscent of Konoha's resident taijutsu master. There were stars in Narumi's eyes, as she clasped her hands together, mouth ajar, drooling. This was straight out of her dreams. Literally. She had had this dream before. She pinched herself to make sure it wasn't a dream so she could actually eat this and not wake up right as she took her first mouthful. It was no dream, it was a nightmare. Luckily for her, this time she felt the pain from her pinch, indicating that this was real life. Yes. Takijiji. I'll take that one. She squealed in joy. Excellent. I'll get to it right away. Get 10 portions of noodles in the pot. Oh. By the way, it costs 14,000 ryo. The ramen chef added in sneakily. Naruto's eyes bulged, as he choked on the complimentary tea. 14,000 ryo? Are we still talking about ramen? The cheapest ramen on the menu cost around 500 ryo, while the more premium ramen could reach up to 1,500. I guess it's a little pricey. We could cancel that if you want. So does she want the regular miso ramen as well? Tuki asked. No. Wait. Please, Naruto-chan? Pretty please? Could I get the Narumi birthday special Supreme Ramen Deluxe 2000? Narumi begged with her puppy dog face. It's just Narumi birthday special. Just throwing that out there. Taki corrected. Damn Narumi and her cute, irresistible puppy dog face no jutsu. She knew her brother's weakness and took full advantage of it. She'd make a damn fine kunoichi. Pretty please? I promise I won't be distracted during my training. I'll make sure to eat all my vegetables, and I'll clean my room too. Please. Please, Anii-chan, it's my birthday. She pleaded, sticking out her lower lip as she intensified her puppy dog face. A broken bar fine. You can have the stupid Narumi birthday special Supreme Ramen Deluxe 2000. Naruto sighed in defeat. Coming here was a mistake his wallet would have to pay the price for. Damn that puppy dog face of hers. Yay! Thanks, Nichan. You're the bestest brother in the world, you know, Narumi cheered, as she danced in her seat in victory. The real winner was Taki and his store though, as he gave a sly smile in victory. He loved having the Namikaze Uzumaki family over. They practically accounted for 30% of their entire profit. Well, I'll get working on that right away. Taki slinked back to the back of the stool to prepare the gargantuan meal. Naruto glared at Taki's retreating back. If only he didn't genuinely like and care for him in Narumi and give them food for free in the past. If only he didn't make the best damn ramen in the world, he would have had words with that old man. An hour later. Thanks for the meal, old man. You should add that to the menu officially. It was amazing. Narumi birthday special Supreme Ramen Deluxe 2000 is gonna be a huge hit. Believe it. Narumi yelled out as she waved goodbye to Taki and his daughter Iam. Glad you liked it. Come back again anytime. And it's just Narumi birthday special. Taki greeted. And happy birthday again, sweetheart. Iam added. Naruto cried as he paid. Naruto lived a very frugal life, but when it came to Narumi, he always ended up spending more money than he intended to. That damn girl had 2 servings of that monstrosity, which he had to admit tasted fantastic when he tried a bite. Breakfast cost him 31,000 ryo. He and Narumi could have stayed at a premium hotel at the capital for that price. Damn Taki, And damn that delicious Narumi birthday special Supreme Ramen Deluxe 2000. Alright Narumi. So, who are you going to hang out with, and where? Naruto asked, as he kept looking at his wallet to make sure it was as empty as it looked. He wasn't hallucinating, was he? He wished he was. Yeah no, my friends. Sasuke-chan and Hinata-chan. Narumi informed Naruto, as if it should have been obvious. She had practically grown up with Sasuke, and the two of them were almost siblings. Narumi befriended Hyuga Hinata, the Hyuga clan heir, a little later, when she was 3, following what came to be known as the Hyuga incident. Flashback. Naruto was heading back home from the Uchiha compound, having picked up Narumi. So, did you have a good time with Mikoto Oba-chan and Izumi? What did you guys do? Naruto asked his 3-year-old sister. Huh? Mikoto Oba-chan read us a story, and Izumi-ne-chan did finger painting with me and Sasuke. I drew Oni-chan and me and our new house. I'll show you when we get home. We also made necklaces with some beads and noodles. Here you go Oni-chan. Narumi happily told her brother, as she put the necklace she made around her blonde brother's neck. Thanks, Amudo. I love it. Does it make me look cool or what? Naruto replied. Narumi giggled as she replied, the necklace is pretty, since I made it, but you look like a dork. Hey. That's not nice. I'm not a dork. I'm awesome, okay? Naruto replied defensively, though jokingly. Sure, whatever you say Oni-chan. Narumi teased. She suddenly stopped and began to feel tense. Oni-chan? I'm getting this weird feeling. I can feel someone feeling really scared. I think they need help. Help? What do you mean, you can feel someone is scared? Naruto was confused, but he never outright dismissed his sister. Did she have some sensory abilities that allowed her to sense emotions? Yeah. Someone is really scared. I can feel their worry from here. Go left at that street. I'll tell you where to go. Being a shinobi, Naruto knew not to ignore gut feelings, and decided to follow where his sister led him to. Moments later he felt a strong Raiden nature chakra hiding in an alley nearby. He put a finger on his lips to tell Narumi to be quiet and she obeyed her brother. He suppressed his chakra signature and sneaked closer to the source, only to find the Kumo-nin ambassador who had visited the village to sign a peace treaty. A closer look showed the Kumo ambassador with a squirming sack over his shoulders. Naruto looked at Narumi, who was still on his back, for confirmation. Narumi pointed to the sack and nodded. He put Narumi down, behind the corner so she was out of sight of the Kumo Jonin, and got ready for a fight. Narumi quickly dashed off to hide behind a barrel nearby. Damn those Hyuga bastards. I'll have to hide for a while until they stop searching for me. Where can I hide that would hide me from their damn Byakugan? The Kumo ambassador whispered through gritted teeth. I need to cause a distraction like I did with the explosion at the Hyuga compound, so they don't have the time to look for me. He thought to himself as he looked around for a distraction. Only the Kumo Jonin's reflexes saved the man's life, when a kunai was suddenly embedded itself deeply into the wall behind where his head had been a mere second ago. He turned his head on a swivel to look for the owner of the kunai. He instinctively raised the kunai in defense, blocking a slash from Naruto's sword. The kunai became useless after that block however, as Naruto was channeling his wind chakra through the sword, and it nearly cut the kunai in half. He jumped backwards to gain some space and tossed his damaged kunai away. Damn, this blonde brat can't be past academy agent, he's giving me a tough time. I can't even channel my lightning chakra through my kunai to strengthen them, since he's channeling wind chakra through his sword. This is a bad matchup for my Raiden. The Kumo kidnapper thought. Naruto didn't give the man more time to think as he charged in towards the Kumo-nin at a blinding speed, intending to cut him to pieces. However, his opponent was a Jonin, and the head nin of Kumo, second in command to the Raikage. He dodged most of Naruto's initial slashes and used the Kawarimi Jutsu, replacement technique, on a nearby barrel, switching places with the barrel. He looked down and saw a little girl with red hair looking back at him with a scared look in her violet eyes. The Kumo Jonin's head was instantly reminded of a girl that Kumo tried to kidnap, decades ago. He had been part of the squad that was waiting to link up with the team that went to kidnap the little Uzumaki girl, and provide reinforcement if they were pursued. The team never arrived. At least not alive. That damn blonde Minato had to get involved. He suddenly saw the parallel between that incident and the predicament he found himself now. This could be his chance to snatch up this girl, who had to be the Uzumaki's brat, and complete the mission they had failed all those years ago. The only person in his way was probably an offspring of the thrice-damned Yondaime Hokage, if looks were anything to go by. He dropped the sack and grabbed the scared redhead, and put a kunai to her throat. Stop. Or this girl gets it. He threatened Naruto. Naruto froze. That bastard. How dare he use Narumi as a hostage? He was not going to give this man a quick death. The Kumo Headman yelled at Naruto, "If you want this girl to live, walk away, you little brat. You're 100 years too young to be fighting me." Naruto's face mirrored Minato's steely gaze, often the last thing seen by their enemies before they died. He stealthily formed one-handed seals behind his back, setting off a chain of jutsus in conjunction. He first formed a cage bunshin, and consecutively used Kawarimi twice to seamlessly replace himself into third person, and cast a hinge on himself in his new location. The headman of Kumo underestimated the blonde, and didn't see any of this, as he was busy keeping an eye out for others, considering the blonde to be stalling while the real help arrived. He also cast the Kakuengyo no Jutsu, Bringer of Darkness technique, a jinjutsu that blocked the sense of sight, on Narumi, so she would only see darkness all around her. He didn't want her to see the gore that was about to take place. "Fine. I surrender, just let her go," Naruto's clone said as he dropped his mother's sword, and threw his hands up in the air as he slowly walked backwards. "Smart move, brat. Though I never said I'd let her go. She'll be coming with me," the Kumo nin declared as he reached for the squirming sack. Narumi, hearing her brother give up, and the Kumo nin stating his intent to kidnap her, while not being able to see anything, began to panic. When she was jerked closer by a rough pull from the Kumo Jonin, she snapped. A chain shot out of her back and stabbed the surprised Kumo Jonin through the shoulder of the arm he was using to hold her. Using the momentary pause of the Kumo nin's shock as an opening, Hinata cut her way out of the sack she was in with a sword and struck the Kumo nin twice. An arm and a leg hit the floor. The Kumo nin looked at the meek 3-year-old Hyuga heiress in shock, only to see her transform back into Naruto. "If you left my sister out of this, I'd have given you a quick death. This is all on you." He flew through one-handed seals and whispered, "Futten, Miser Rappa, boil release, water trumpet," and spat out a stream of water on the downed Kumo nin. The man screamed in excruciating pain, as he slowly felt his body burn and dissolve away. Naruto had made sure not to make the jutsu too caustic, so his sister's kidnapper could feel more of the pain. The Kumo ambassador's flesh was dissolved, revealing his dissolved muscle tissue and bones in some places, but he wasn't quite dead yet. Naruto decided to finish the job and get rid of the evidence of his bloodline when he was sure the man had suffered sufficiently for his crimes. "Gaten, Ruku no Jutsu, fire release, dragon flame technique," he yelled out, and a stream of blue flame incinerated the dissolving man, which left nothing behind, but burned, brittle bones, which crumbled in the wind. He released the jinjutsu from Narumi and ran over to see if she was okay. "Narumi, are you okay? Did he hurt you? Nichan. I was so scared. I thought that bad man was gonna take me away forever," she cried out as she buried herself in her brother's chest. The blonde Chunin hugged his sister to comfort her. "Shhh. Don't worry. He won't ever hurt you again. You're safe now. Your Nichan will protect you. Promise." Naruto's clone walked over with a scared Hinata, who the clone had been hiding to also spare her from the violent scene. Thank you Shinabi-san for rescuing me," Hinata said in a quiet, still scared voice. "It was nothing. She's the one you should be thanking anyway. I wouldn't have known you were in danger if she didn't sense your distress." Naruto said as he pointed to his sister. Thank you, a broken bar. I didn't get your name, Hinata said to her red-haired savior. Sniffle, I'm Narumi. And this is my Oni-chan, Naruto. Introduced Narumi, as she wiped the tears from her eyes. Thank you Narumi-san, Naruto-san. How can I repay you? Asked the Hyuga clan heiress. Her father had drilled into her young mind that a Hyuga must never be in debt. Wanna hang out with me sometime? Narumi offered as a small smile began to form on her face, even as her eyes were still teary. Hang out? Like play together? Hinata asked, making sure she understood what she was being asked. After all, Hyugas didn't use such low-class vernacular often. Yeah. You know, play together and stuff. We could be friends? Narumi asked hopefully. She didn't have many friends, and was desperate to make more. Hinata was also a very lonely child, and didn't have many friends her age, due to her clan being so uptight. She was happy to make a friend. That sounds nice, and Narumi-san. She stuttered, but had a small smile on her face. Narumi's smile reached her ears when the pale-eyed girl agreed to be her second friend ever. Sweet. We can play at the park with Sasuke-chan. She squealed in joy, though her eyes weren't dry yet. Naruto smiled at the scene, happy for the two young girls, when the Hyuga finally appeared. Hinata-sama. Thank Kami-sama you are safe. A 12-year-old Hyuga Mame family member, and Hinata's caretaker, Nainko said as he ran over to see if she was alright. Hyuga Hayashi, the clan head, and Hyuga Hisashi, his twin brother and head of the branch family, arrived shortly after. Hinata. You're alright. The Hyuga clan head said in relief as he swept up his daughter in his arms. Ota-sama. These two people rescued me from the bad man. Hinata explained to her father. Hayashi looked at the blonde Chunin and his sister, and looked over to the charred and crumbling bones of the Kumonyan, the only identifying remains of the man being the severed arm and leg that lied close by. Thank you for rescuing my daughter, Namikaze Uzumaki-san. The Hyuga owes you their gratitude. Let me know if there is anything we can do for your service to us. Hayashi said as he bowed slightly. Naruto remembered this man, the man who set off the chain of events that had him and Narumi grow up in an orphanage, and enabled the council to steal their inheritance. He hated the Hyuga clan head, but didn't want to get in the way of his sister's new friendship with Hinata. I guess you could start by letting them play together every once in a while, Naruto said in a neutral tone, not even bothering to look directly at the man. A broken bar. I suppose I can allow Hinata to spend time with the coup with your sister. Under proper supervision of course. Hayashi answered back, managing to cover up his slip of the tongue. Naruto heard the slip, and was seething inside, but held his tongue. He simply nodded. If that's all, we will be heading back to the compound. It has been a long night for Hinata after all, Hayashi said as the Hyuga clan members all turned to leave. Naruto and Narumi also left, after Naruto explained what happened to the Anbu and the Uchiha military police force that came to investigate and clear up the site. Naruto was fuming inside at the way Hayashi looked at Narumi, but hid his feelings, not wanting to spoil Narumi's good mood. I finally made a new friend, Oni-chan. Narumi was practically skipping the whole way back home. Naruto's anger died down looking at his sister's happiness. This is what he sacrificed everything for. To make sure his sister could be happy. His mind snapped back to what had happened and mused about Narumi unlocking her chakra chains. She was truly his mother's daughter. His face showed a smile as he began to think of training regimens for her. Meanwhile, Hayashi glared at Hisashi as they walked back. You will be punished for your failure to watch Hinata properly, he whispered through gritted teeth as they walked back. Hisashi said nothing. In flashback. Right. The Jutsu duo. Alrighty then. Have fun. And remember, come back home by 4 so we can get ready for your party, okay? Naruto reminded Narumi, who nodded and ran off to meet her friends. Naruto went back home to set up for the party. At 5 p.m. the guests began to show up at the door of the Namikaze Uzumaki siblings' house. They piled up their gifts at the end of the table that held the food and drinks, and the kids began to play the party games Naruto had prepared during the afternoon, while the adults and Shinobi talked with each other. "Thanks for coming, Mikoto Oba-chan," Naruto greeted the Uchiha matriarch. "I wasn't about to miss our little Narumi's 7th birthday party," Mikoto replied with her warm smile that reminded Naruto of his own mother. She was quite excited to present her gift to Narumi-chan after all. Came Uchi's calm, slightly monotone voice. "He can hardly tell if you're being sarcastic with your tone like that, Uchi," Shizui joked, and Izumi agreed. "I try to get him to show a bit more emotion, but it's like trying to teach a cat to bark," Izumi complained in good nature. Kakashi stood in the corner watching everything going on, though appearing to read his orange book of smut. Being the only other non-Uchiha guest, he was approached by Hyuga, who had accompanied Hinata to the party as her chaperone. "Must you read that smut at a children's party? I do not want Hinata-sama to be corrupted at a birthday party," Ko asked Kakashi. "Interesting way to start a conversation, Hyuga-san," Kakashi replied as he put the book away. "I guess you found a way to read your collection when she's not around then, huh?" What? I don't own a collection," Ko said, flabbergasted. How did this man know? He was sure nobody was around when he went to the bookstore. "Your reaction told me everything I needed to know," Kakashi replied with his characteristic eye smile. The guests were having a good time, besides for Ko, who became paranoid of people finding out his secret. Hyuga were supposed to be dignified after all. His eyes darted nervously around Naruto and Narumi's living room. "They know. They all know," he thought to himself. It was starting to get late, and became time to cut the cake and open presents before everyone went home. Sasuke decided to give his gift first, and he went over to pick an envelope. Narumi tried to guess what it was, and Naruto hoped it was money. When the birthday girl opened it up, she found 10 prepaid coupons for ramen at Akiraku's. "Sasuke-chan. How's anyone gonna top this? I love it!" Narumi yelled out in true appreciation. Naruto was disappointed that it wasn't money, but changed his mind when he realized it was 10 less times he had to open up his wallet for her ramen addiction. Well, more like 2 less times. She'd probably use 5 of them at a time. HNN. Also, it's Sasuke-kun. I'm not a little child anymore, so don't call me Sasuke-chan. The young Uchiha boy answered back. "Sure thing, Sasuke-chan," Narumi replied cheekily, causing the boy to scowl. The adults laughed at the scene. Narumi's second friend decided to go next, and gave Narumi a small box that turned out to hold an expensive set of hair accessories, which Narumi immediately took out of the box to put on her hair. She loved it and gave Hinata a warm hug, bringing a smile on the Hyuga heiress face. Next was Izumi, who gave her a set of pretty, but still practical clothes that she could wear when she entered the academy soon. Ichi gave her a shiny new set of kunai and shuriken, and Shizui gave her some scrolls for D-rank jutsu she could work on when she found out her elemental affinity. Kakashi gave her a wooden training sword, so she could get started on her mother's style of kenjutsu. Mikoto came next with her gift. It was a very motherly gift. Not very exciting for Narumi but very necessary. They were all the textbooks she would need for the academy, as well as other supplies. Narumi still appreciated the gesture, and not being a spoiled little brat, she thanked her warmly with a hug. Naruto appreciated the gift a lot more, meaning he wouldn't have to spend money on her academy supplies. Score. Finally, it was Naruto's turn. Narumi was excited to see what he prepared this year. He always went above and beyond to get her nice gifts. "Since you're entering the academy in the following spring, I decided it was time to start teaching you our parents' style of sealing. This is part of their legacy, you know." He presented her with an assortment of books and scrolls on sealing for beginners, as well as a sealing kit. She had never met her parents, and was starved for any knowledge, story, anecdote, or connection to her parents. She was very excited to connect with her parents in a practical way. She ran over to hug him. "Thanks, Nichan. I'm gonna be the best sealing master ever." Even better than you. The real surprise came after, however. That's not all, Naruto continued, hiding a knowing smile as he walked over to a closed closet. Narumi wondered if he hid a gift in there as she walked closer in anticipation. You ready? Naruto asked, and Narumi nodded. She was not prepared for what was next. When Naruto swung the door open, the closet was revealed to be filled to the brim with all sorts of instant ramens, collected from every corner of the elemental nations, ranging anywhere from spicy ramen from Sa, curry ramen from Kumo, green tea ramen from Tanokuni, land of tea, goat ramen from Iwa, seafood ramen from Kiri, and a plethora of other exotic ramens. Narumi's eyes bulged before she passed out. She had a huge smile on her face. Best day ever were the last thoughts that went through her mind. Beginning of the academic year. Narumi couldn't mask the excitement as she walked hand in hand with her older brother. She was finally entering the academy. Her mind whirled through all the possibilities. She could make new friends. She could learn to be a kick-ass ninja like her brother was. Maybe she'd even meet a guy who would sweep her off her feet like she read in her little shoujo manga. Naruto was happy for his little sister, but couldn't help but worry. Though a lot of people respected his strength and saw him as his father's successor, they weren't so kind with his sister. A lot of people avoided her and alienated her, though most people didn't outright mistreat her, fearing Naruto's wrath. He had been Anbu for 3 years now, and he had continued to get stronger and develop a reputation during that time, now known and acknowledged in Konoha as one of its elite. Narumi and Naruto soon arrived at the academy, where a new batch of students were all present with their parents. Narumi didn't have her parents with her, but she didn't mind so much, as she had her reliable brother with her. He himself was only 14, but to her he felt an adult, as he carried himself like one, and everyone treated him as one. Well, other than Uchiha-san, Izumi-ne-chan, Shizui-ne-san, and Mikoto Oba-san. She looked around for any familiar faces, and saw the Uchiha Sasuke and his mother, who she considered family. Many in the clan still disliked her though, as her continued affiliation with the clan only added suspicion and distrust to the intentions of their clan. Their reputation had taken a hit following the Kyuubi incident. The 5 Uchiha who really knew her were very fond of the energetic redhead though. It was hard for anyone to hate the girl when they really got to know her. She was kind, compassionate, caring, and loyal. Positive vibes all around. When the Uchiha family saw the familiar red and yellow mops of hair within the crowd, they smiled and walked over to them. Naruto. Narumi. How are you two? Mikoto asked as she greeted them with a hug. I'm doing quite well, Mikoto Oba-san. Looks like Narumi here is ready to start her journey as a shinobi. She's been talking about it non-stop ever since her birthday. He replied with a chuckle. The Uchiha woman laughed softly. Our Sasuke-kun has been quite excited to join as well. Something about proving himself or something. Sasuke had a good childhood mostly, but he struggled to prove himself to his father, who was too busy with clan head duties and overseeing the Uchiha military police force. The younger son of the clan head was also constantly compared to the genius of his elder brother, and he was desperate to leave Uchiha's shadow. Hey! Just wait and see. I'll show you I can be just as strong as Uchiha-san. Sasuke declared with all the conviction a 7-year-old could muster. Well, any 7-year-old that wasn't Naruto trying to reclaim custody of his sister, that is. Naruto gave Sasuke a smile. He saw the boy as a younger brother, the way Uchiha saw Narumi as a younger sister. I'm sure you will, Sasuke-kun, he responded in a genuine way. Maybe if you and Narumi reach the top scores of your class, I could show you a jutsu or two. Meanwhile, the new students in front of the school stared, and the students in the classes poked their heads out of the windows to look at the interaction between the two families. That new student was so handsome. The son of the clan head of the elite Uchiha clan had the looks to match his prestigious background. Many of the girls swooned. And he seemed to be familiar with the rising star and son of the Yondaime. He stole many of their hearts instantly. Really? You'll teach me jutsu? Sasuke looked at Naruto with stars in his eyes. Sasuke looked up to Uchiha more than anyone, even more than his own father, who even admitted that Uchiha and Shizui were prodigies unseen in the Uchiha clan since maybe Madara. Naruto and Shizui were the only ones who matched up to that level, with Uchiha claiming they were stronger than him. Sasuke didn't believe Uchiha though. By top scores, do you mean in everything? Or top of the class in some categories? I think I could manage some. Narumi asked for clarification. I mean top scores like getting Kunoichi of the year. Naruto clarified. It's supposed to be difficult. I want you to set goals that are difficult to attain, so you have something to work towards. Oh man. I hate studying book stuff though. Yukitsu boring. I'll take training over nerdy book work any day of the week. The red-haired girl was annoyed at having to study boring things like history. That nerdy book stuff might be the difference between a successful mission and a failed one, Amudo. Naruto tried to reason. Imagine going on a mission to broker a deal between the daimyo and you offend him because you were ignorant of the history and relationship between his country and a neighboring one. Or maybe you run low on supplies and become forced to forage for food, but don't know what's safe to eat or what's dangerous. Maybe you don't remember the rules of engagement and spark a war between villages. Okay, I get it. Sheesh. Fine, I'll try to work on my book studies too, Nichan. Narumi sighed in resignation. Good. Now remember, be friendly and nice, but don't let people push you around. Focus on your studies, and most importantly, don't be a fangirl. Naruto advised Narumi. Mikoto also gave similar advice to her son, preparing him for his entrance into academy life, similar to what the other parents were doing. A chunin named Amenoruka soon appeared at the entrance of the academy and announced the classrooms for the new students, and ushered them in, as the parents waved goodbye to their children, wishing them good luck in their new chapter of life. Narumi's classroom? Told you that was the wrong room, Baka. Sasuke told Narumi, rubbing it in her face. Sheesh, I said it was my bad. I got the numbers mixed up in my head. Narumi said defensively. That's why I said I should be the one to lead us. Sasuke reminded his red-headed friend, as they opened the door to their correct classroom. The two friends were to last to enter their classroom, and everyone in the room turned their heads to see their classmates who came in late. The girls thanked Kami. The Uchiha prince was in their class. This was perfect. Now they had the opportunity to make him theirs. They were annoyed to see his closeness with the red-headed bitch their parents told them to avoid though. The younger members of the village were unaware of the fact that Narumi was the Jinchu Uriki of the Kyuubi, as the Sandaime Hokage deemed the identity of their Jinchu Uriki an S-class military secret, hoping to avoid losing her to other villages. However, it didn't stop the older members of the village from encouraging their children to stay away from the volatile container, who they feared might release the Kyuubi at any moment, or at least be influenced into harming their children. Hey! Why don't you take a seat here? Offers to sit next to them rang out from all over the room. Narumi smiled at all the offers, and walked up with Sasuke to take a seat at one of the seats that were left open. When the two friends reached the spot, Sasuke sat down next to a girl who looked like she won the lottery. Narumi tried to sit down too, when a bag was quickly placed in the seat. Yeah, this spot is taken. A girl told Narumi, with a scowl on her face. Go sit somewhere else. She added, not bothering to mask her rudeness. Narumi's heart sank a bit as she looked around for other seats, and saw the same uninviting look on every face, and sensed their negative emotions toward her. She tried to hold her forced smile, not wanting to show them how much it hurt her, but her lips shook as it began to falter. Luckily, she spotted the waving hand of her friend Hinata in the back, who had a bunch of empty seats next to her. Hinata was too shy entering a room full of strangers, and being forced to sit so close to them was too much for her. Hinata had found a spot that was far from everyone else, where she could enjoy her space. Hinata! Narumi cried out in relief, and ran over to take a seat next to her. Sasuke saw how these shallow bitches treated his friend and got up from his seat and joined Narumi and Hinata, much to the chagrin of his new fangirls. Didn't see you there, Hyuga. Sasuke explained why they didn't just sit with her in the first place, as he took his seat. Her quiet demeanor really made her presence easy to overlook. It's okay Sasuke-kun. I'm just glad you and Narumi-chan are in the same classroom as me. Hinata told Sasuke and Narumi. This was indeed a special classroom. Not only was Hinata in this classroom, but a bunch of other clan heirs were in this class. The Nara, Akimichi, Yamanaka, Aburame, and Hyuga clan heirs were all in this class. Other children of clan heads such as Sasuke or the son of the Inuzuka clan head were also in the mix. Throw in a couple children of civilian council members, and this class was already the talk of the school. Alright, everyone settle down. Ruka, the homeroom sensei of the class said, as he entered the class. Nobody listened except for Hinata. Ruka's eyebrow began to twitch. I said everyone settle down. He yelled, using his jutsu which enlarged his head and amplified his voice with chakra. That caught everyone's attention, and they finally became quiet. Alright class, welcome to your first day at the academy. I'm Amano Ruka, your homeroom sensei, and this is my assistant, Mizuki. He pointed a white-haired chunin who stood next to him. This school has produced some of the finest shinobi of our village over the years, and with hard work, maybe you'll be one of them. Ruka began. We'll be covering the basics and forming your foundation in this first year, before moving on to more advanced topics in later years. I know some of you come from clans and might be ready for more advanced things, but I want to get everyone on the same page, and it's an opportunity for you to brush up on and improve on the basics. I hope you are all aware that a firm foundation is the key for future growth. He passed the floor to his assistant, the chunin named Mizuki. We'll be covering reading and writing, basic math skills, history, chakra basics, and intro to kunai and shuriken jutsu this year. Mizuki gave the floor back to Ruka. Narumi groaned. This is not what she expected. Boring, boring, boring. Ruka gave a quick glare to Narumi for the outburst before continuing. I know many of you are excited to get started, but today is more of an introduction day. We'll shortly cover the syllabus for each course, and have a tour around the academy to get you all familiar with the facilities. Before we start all that, we'll all be introducing ourselves, so that we can get familiar with each other. We need to know what to call each other, right? He looked at the students to make sure they were paying attention before continuing. His eyebrow twitched in annoyance when he caught someone sleeping. It hadn't been 10 minutes since class, no, their academy lives, began and someone was sleeping already. Unacceptable. He threw the chalk he was holding at a boy who had black hair tied into a spiky ponytail, resembling a pineapple. He woke up when the chalk hit him in the forehead. He sighed and slowly sat up. As I was saying, we'll be starting with introductions. I want names, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams. Why don't we start with you, Mr. I'm gonna sleep on my first day of class. The pineapple-haired boy sighed. This is so troublesome. Well, my name is Narashikamaru. I like to sleep, relax and watch the clouds, and to play shogi. I dislike troublesome things. Hobbies are the same as my likes. My dream is to become an average ninja and live an average life that's not troublesome. Ruka sighed at the unenthusiastic introduction. This was going to be a long day. In the Uchiha compound. I'm so fucking tired. We've been working double shifts when we work at the police station, and they make us take mission after mission when we're not. We barely get any rest, working to protect and maintain the peace of this village, and how do they think us? With looks of suspicion and distrust. A disgruntled clansman complained to another in a bar in the compound. We do the most work in this damn village. And we barely get thanked for it. I swear these people are so fucking entitled. We're the strongest clan in this village, and contribute the most to it too. We should be praised for our dedication, but instead these people look at us like we're criminals. Can you believe it? We're the fucking police. Unequally unhappy Uchiha replied. The disgruntled Uchiha clansman continued, spurred on by his friend's agreement. I can't believe they think we were responsible for the Kyubi. Just because we didn't suffer too many losses and the Senju clan was wiped out. Not our fault they pushed us to the edges of the village, far from where the Kyuubi struck. As for the Senju? Man, I'd say they were already on their way out. They hadn't produced any notable shinobi since Tsunade. We got powerhouses like Uchiha and Shizui. Not our fault the Senju got their weak asses handed to them. The unhappy Uchiha nodded in agreement. This village is so full of shit. I can't believe that Told Monkey took the spot back as Hokage. If you ask me, it was time for an Uchiha Hokage. We were one of the founding clans for Kami's sake. Instead, we had two Senjus and their lapdog Sarutobi as 3 of our 4 Hokages. Then they made a clanless orphan a Hokage, instead of one of ours. To be fair though, that clanless orphan was the strongest shinobi in our village. The disgruntled Uchiha commented. All that strength didn't mean anything when he died to the Kyuubi, now did it? The unhappy Uchiha fired back. Number. It did not. A different voice answered back. The unhappy Uchiha didn't notice the difference in voices. Damn right it didn't. Just left us with a whole bunch of problems. Like his wannabe Uchiha brats. Can't believe Fugaku lets that stupid Kyuubi brat enter a compound like that. Isn't he concerned at all that the Kyuubi might break out in our compound? Not particularly. That third voice replied. Huh? The 2 Uchiha clansmen said in unison as they turned around, finally realizing that someone else was standing behind them. Fugaku-sama. Interesting conversation you were having there. The Uchiha clan head commented. We were just discussing current affairs Fugaku-sama. We were just worried about the clan you see. The 2 stammered out, trying to cover their loose talking. I see. Mind sharing your concerns with me? After all, it is the clan head's duty to assuage concerns of the clan, is it not? Fugaku asked in a calm tone, which only served to scare the 2 Uchiha. We were just discussing how the Uchiha clan is not getting the proper respect it deserves. We have some of the strongest shinobi in the village, play the biggest role in its internal security, and we're the only surviving founding clan, but people look at us like we've done something wrong, and they don't treat us with the respect they used to. The disgruntled Uchiha clansman told Fugaku. That Narumi girl isn't helping. Her coming over like that is only making the villagers suspect us more of being behind the Kyuubi incident. The unhappy Uchiha added. I see. Your concerns are understandable. However, it is improper to be speaking like this in public. Fugaku told the 2. Apologies Fugaku-sama. This won't happen again. The 2 quickly responded. Good. Now if you have any problems, or concerns regarding the clan, come speak to me. Fugaku told the 2 clansmen. He lowered his voice to a whisper. I want you both to come to the Naka shrine tonight. We're having a meeting concerning clan matters. He turned around and to leave. Don't worry about the Kiba Jinshu Uriki. She'll serve her purpose. He left with that cryptic message. He had a rare smile on his face as he walked away from the bar, thinking about the fear the 2 Uchiha clansmen showed at his presence. I still got it, he thought to himself smugly. The Naka shrine? Underground? Why are we having a clan meeting there? The disgruntled Uchiha asked the unhappy Uchiha. I dunno. Guess we'll find out. He answered. A few hours later, at the academy. Ruka slumped over at his desk. Yup. It was a long day. Just as he expected. He had a strange bunch of students in his class. Some were too enthusiastic, some were too lazy, some had no personality, while some had too much. Some were too quiet, some too loud. There was no way all these kids were going to get along. He could already see the seeds of drama taking roots as well. Why couldn't he have some normal kids for once? Parents were gathered outside, waiting to pick up their kids from their first day of academy. The newest additions to the academy poured out of the classroom when it was 3:30. One by one, parent and child began to go back home, and the busyness of the academy slowly died down until it became quiet. Naruto picked up Narumi from school and was walking her back home. So, Narumi, how was your first day of school? He asked his sister. It was fun. She lied. Her fantasies of school life were shattered the moment she entered her classroom. She didn't want to worry her brother, however. Is that right? Anything interesting happened today? The blonde Anbu asked. Her mind immediately went to the incident that happened a few hours ago. Flashback. Okay, now how about you go? Ruka pointed at Narumi, indicating it was her turn for introductions. Narumi stood up to talk. Hi. I'm Namikaze Uzumaki Narumi. Nice to meet you all. I like Ramen, my older brother Naruto, and Hinata and Sasuke, and Mikoto Oba-chan. And a broken Baro. Shizui Nichan and Ichi Nichan too. I dislike mean people and bullies, and people who judge others before getting to know them. A few of the people in the classroom felt uncomfortable, knowing she was talking about them. How dare she? I'll show her her place. Stay away from my Sasuke, you slut, were some of the thoughts of her bullies. My hobbies include training with my brother, playing with my friends, and learning about seals. My dream is to become Hokage of this village. Oh yeah. And to become part owner of a Kairaku's. She concluded. Ruka smiled at her enthusiasm and childlike innocence. His smile soon turned into a frown when laughter rang out through the classroom. You? Hokage. You wish. Tomato. The whole class, save for a few, began to burst out in laughter and began mocking her relentlessly, each one trying to outdo the other with a funnier and meaner way to mock her dreams and Narumi herself. Narumi's hopeful enthusiasm shriveled away again. She quietly sank into her seat. Her eyes began to tear up, and her lips began to shake, as she struggled to hold back the floodgate of tears. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The academy was supposed to be the place where she began to make her dreams come true. Hinata was worried, and felt bad for her friend, and Sasuke was glaring daggers at everyone laughing. Ruka tried to calm the class down, but to no avail. Haruno Sakura, a pink-haired daughter of a civilian councilwoman, joined in, glad to finally not be the butt of someone's jokes, and happy to be part of the crowd for once. Look! The tomato is about to cry. Quick! Get your cups ready. Maybe she'll cry tomato juice. The class roared in laughter. Sakura felt good when her joke was acknowledged by the class. It felt good to be part of the cool crowd. A pretty blonde girl, and heiress of the Yamanaka clan, who had been sitting next to Sakura, looked at her friend in disgust. Yamanaka Ino had protected and rescued the pink-haired girl from bullies who made fun of her large forehead, and now here she was, doing the same thing to others. Ino hated bullies. She was one of the few students who weren't laughing. Sakura! She hissed quietly, as she poked her ribs with her elbows. What are you doing? What? It's just a joke. Everyone else thought it was funny. Don't be jealous just because you didn't think of it. Sakura brushed off Ino. I can't believe you of all people are doing this. Can't you see how miserable she looks? She's about to cry. Ino felt terrible for Narumi. Who cares? If she can't take a joke, she's probably a loser anyway. Besides, my mom told me she's bad news. Apparently, we should all stay away from her. Sakura told her blonde friend. Ino had heard similar warnings to keep her distance from the redhead in the past. She was told she was dangerous. But Ino was an independent girl, and didn't just obey her parents blindly, especially if she didn't understand why. She hadn't ever really talked to the girl before, but she knew this was wrong. Sakura soaked up the praises and positive responses she got for her joke, and decided to get more. She got up from her seat with her water bottle and went over to Narumi. Hey tomato! Tilt your head a little to the side when you cry, will you? I do enjoy some freshly squeezed tomato juice. The class went crazy, and people were on the floor, howling with laughter. The Inuzuka clan head's son, Kiba, was literally howling. Sakura saw this as a good sign and took it further. She put her open bottle and placed the opening under Narumi's eyes, who was bright red from the embarrassment. Sadly, with her face, round with baby fat, turning red to match her hair color, she did indeed look reminiscent of a tomato. Narumi was about to burst out in tears, when she remembered her brother's advice in the morning. Don't let people push you around, Narumi. She reminded herself. She gathered her breath and courage. She suddenly got up, and slapped the bottle out of Sakura's hands, and Sakura suddenly stopped laughing. The pink-head's eyes widened when she saw a punch coming for her face. Her civilian reflexes were inadequate for her to avoid it, and took it straight to the chin. She crumpled to the ground. The class was silenced in an instant. "Who said I look like a tomato?" Narumi screamed in fury, as she turned around to look at her classmates who had been laughing a few seconds ago. They saw the fire in her eyes, and swore her hair was starting to flail behind her. Most of them wisely shut their mouths. Kiba, while very sensitive to the feelings of animals, and dogs in particular, was not very adept at reading the mood in human interactions. He still couldn't get the laughter out of his system and was still laughing. "What you gonna do about it, tomato? Squeeze me into ketchup?" Some of the bullies regained their courage when Kiba mocked her, and began to laugh again, though some of them were a little nervous. His partner, a white puppy named Akamaru, who was hiding in his jacket, barked at Kiba to tell him to stop. Akamaru could sense the killing intent and chakra that was subtly emanating from the red-headed girl. He could tell she was dangerous right now. Kiba, however, failed to listen. "I'll show you who's a tomato!" Narumi screamed in rage, as she jumped down several rows of seats to pummel Kiba. He had thought she wasn't a threat since he was a boy and girls are weaker than boys. He was also from a shinobi clan known for being vicious scrappers, while Sakura came from a civilian family. His misogynistic theory was immediately thrown into doubt, when he felt Narumi's fist sink into his cheek. He was beaten savagely, unable to defend himself, despite his best efforts. Ruka didn't stop the fight right away, as he thought Kiba needed to be taught a lesson, and waited a few seconds before going to break up the fight. When the two were separated, Narumi stormed back to her seat, greeted by Sasuke, who gave her an approving nod and a grin, while Hinata looked worried, probably worrying about the repercussions of assaulting the children of two high-profile families. Kiba returned to his seat too, dusty and frazzled from the canvas whooping he received from the scary girl in his class. Seemingly a victim of his self-fulfilling prophecy, he did indeed have something like ketchup leaking from his nose. The class learned from Kiba's mistake, and decided to be more subtle when mocking Narumi. The Nara boy, who had been one of the students not laughing, had observed the whole thing while pretending to sleep. What a troublesome class. Flashback end. Nothing in particular. The red-headed girl lied. It was just introductions and stuff, you know. Standard stuff. Ruka-sensei just showed us around and introduced the syllabuses for the courses. Naruto could feel she was hiding something but decided not to worry about it. There was a storm brewing, one he would be pulled into it in the near future. The next day, Naruto was at the Anbu Lounge, hanging out with his team on some downtime. His team, known as Team Omega, was the most renowned and feared Anbu team in the entire elemental continent. Each member was the cream of the crop in the Anbu force, and were captains of their own teams too. When together, however, suicide S-rank missions were completed as easily as any regular B-rank mission. They were led by Hotai Kakashi, who wasn't the strongest amongst them, but the most experienced, and made the best calls. The rest of the team was comprised of Uchiha and Naruto, and finally, a former root Anbu who had forgotten his name, and went by Tenzo. Each of their own respective teams had flawless records as well, attesting to their individual leadership and skill. Together, Team Omega's teamwork and prowess was legendary. Things looked good for the team, but Naruto had his concerns. Uchiha had been acting strange lately. He seemed even more withdrawn than usual. His head was not in the game. Naruto wondered if it had something to do with Izumi, who Uchiha had begun to date a few months ago, when she was promoted to Chunin. He waited until Kakashi and Tenzo left, and he and Uchiha were alone. "So Uchiha, is everything okay? You've been acting kinda strangely recently. Everything alright with you and Izumi?" Naruto asked in concern. "Yeah, everything is fine with Izumi. Though I do miss her. Wish she came back from her long-term mission soon," Uchiha replied. Izumi was starting to be noticed for her skills, as expected of an Uchiha, but what set her apart was her high emotional quotient, and ability to understand what other people felt and wanted, which was rare, especially for an Uchiha. Her unique combination of skill and personality led her to be selected more and more for missions that required a more sensitive touch. This meant she was often out of the village for weeks and months at a time. She'll be back before you know it. I'm sure her team will complete the mission soon. She's quite skilled after all. She's becoming more and more noticed for her skill ever since she became a Chunin, Naruto said to Uchi, hoping his strange behavior as of late was simply because he missed Izumi. He had a feeling he was wrong, and there was more, but he tried to ignore them. So, how's the fam? Did you talk to Sasuke about his first day of school? Naruto continued, trying to get a feel for if anything else was troubling the stoic Uchiha. I did. He said it was boring at first, but something exciting happened. Ichi started. Really? Narumi didn't mention anything interesting happening. She said it was a boring, standard introduction. Though I don't know what she knows about standard. Not like she's been to any other school introductions before. Naruto mused. Ichi began with a small smirk. Sasuke mentioned during the class introductions that Naruto Teiku. One Anbu shouted out, interrupting Ichi mid-speech. What is it? Naruto asked the Anbu who showed up with some sort of message. Ichi's smirk deepened, having a feeling he knew what this was all about. Teiku, you've been summoned to the academy. The Anbu told Naruto. The academy? Summoned? Who the hell in the academy has the right to summon me? He asked, slightly irritated. Why don't you go and find out? Ichi told his blonde friend. Fine. Guess I'll get this over with. Tell me what you were gonna tell me about the class introductions when I get back. Naruto changed out of his Anbu gear, as he told Ichi, who just smirked back. Naruto vanished in a shunshin. At the academy office, a very angry councilwoman and clan head sat in front of a desk at the academy office with their children, who were bandaged up and shifting nervously in their seat. At the other side of the desk, sat the academy director, and Amenoruka stood next to him. A nervous red-headed girl was sitting in a separate chair, staring at her feet. She was also seated in front of the desk, on the side of the angry parents, who glared at her hatefully. Naruto appeared in the office with his shunshin. So why was I summoned? Naruto asked in an irritated voice. Please take a seat next to your sister Naruto-san. The director asked. Naruto grunted in compliance and took a seat next to Narumi, who seemed to be even more nervous now that Naruto appeared. She was unable to meet his eyes. Naruto raised his eyebrows in a questioning look. So? He asked, hoping to get some answers quickly. So? I'll tell you what happened. Your damn demon of a sister assaulted my precious girl, that's what. Haruno Mebuki screamed at Naruto. I knew she was trouble. If you ask me, that rabid dog shouldn't be allowed to be in class with the other students. Tsume and Kiba bristled at the negative comparison to dogs. Naruto gave her a glare so cold it could freeze fire as he released an amount of killing intent that was small to him, which he made sure didn't reach Narumi. Everyone else in the room felt it though. Kiba started to shake in his chair, and began to sweat profusely. A small amount of liquid stained Sakura's pants, as she also paled in fear. The director and Ruka were also nervous. Inuzuka Tsume was an experienced, veteran shinobi, but she too felt a small bit of fear she hadn't felt in a while. Mebuki however, had most of the killing intent focused on her, and began to stammer as her blood ran cold. She didn't know why, but she felt like she was in the presence of a predator, who was waiting for her to slip up again, before it would pounce on her and tear her to pieces. Nobody asked you, Councilwoman Haruno. Naruto replied in threatening tone, which Narumi had never heard from her brother before. We're in the presence of children, so I suggest you watch your tongue. Mebuki instinctively understood it was no suggestion. It was a warning. Now Haruno Mebuki was a proud woman, and had every right to be, in her opinion. She was one of the youngest civilian council members in Konoha history, by her own merit. She was selected to replace a retiring council member when she was 25, selected for her business acumen, being a rising star in the economic scene of Konoha. She was famous for her ability to appraise the value of anything at just a glance, and had made a lot of money through shrewd business moves. At this moment, however, she forgot she was a successful, high-ranking member of the village in her mid-30s, and it didn't cross her mind that a 14-year-old boy was putting her in her place. She didn't have a good concept of killing intent, so she didn't know why she felt compelled to, but she listened to her instincts and simply closed her mouth and gave him a small nod. Naruto was currently dressed in civilian clothing, and was seemingly unarmed. That did nothing to take away from the overwhelming and dangerous presence and aura he seemed to exude, and it demanded respect that belied what was fitting for his age. He took control of the conversation. "Now, will somebody please tell me what is going on? In civil words?" He emphasized the civil, while glaring at Mebuyuki, who shrank away from his glare. The director, who finally found his voice, answered him. "Well, you see, Naruto-san, there was a small altercation between the 3 students present, yesterday." Naruto nodded at the director, indicating for him to continue. "From what I've heard, there was a bit of teasing from her peers, and Narumi decided to retaliate in a small scuffle." The director continued, trying to downplay the incident. The Inuzuka clan had thought it was time for her to enter the conversation. By small scuffle, what he means is that your sister decided to brutally and viciously attack her classmates? My Kiba here had to get several stitches in his cheek, get his nose set straight, and has a black eye, not to mention all the severe bruising he has all over his body. Kiba squirmed uncomfortably in his seat. Tsume was pissed. This is an unacceptable response to a little bit of teasing. Sakura's mom regained her courage, now that she had backup in Tsume. "That's right. Absolutely unacceptable. She punched my precious girl in her pretty little face. Look at the swelling in her jaw. She fractured her jaw. My poor baby. What kind of girl resorts to violence over a small joke? So barbaric. It's as if she wants to let the whole world know she grew up without parents. For the record, we can tell, girl. Ugh, such uncivilized behavior, as expected from a filthy peasant." Mebuyuki spat out in disgust. Tears began to fall from Narumi's eyes, when Mebuyuki brought up the fact that her parents weren't around. Though Naruto was always there for her, doing his best to play the role of both parents, she still felt the absence of her parents, and it was a touchy subject. Tsume knew Mebuyuki fucked up, again, when she saw Naruto's countenance change. Sakura was Mebuyuki's only child, and when it came to her daughter, she was a little blinded, despite being sharp when it came to business. Her better judgment was clouded by the anger she felt for her daughter's injuries. "I demand full compensation for all her medical fees, as well as any psychological damage she might have suffered from that barbaric girl's assault. I want that girl to be kicked out of this school. She's unfit to be around other children." Tsume was going to demand compensation for her son's many injuries as well, but held her tongue for the moment, because she knew it wasn't the right time anymore. Naruto heard the councilwoman's harsh words towards his sister, and saw the huge tears that began to fall from Narumi's violet eyes. She made her cry. She made his precious, adorable sister cry. His hair fell over his eyes as he stood up. Mebuyuki was feeling smug for getting revenge for her daughter by putting that red-headed demon in her place, when she suddenly felt the air leave her lungs as a hand grabbed her throat. She looked to see the owner of the hand, and saw the eyes of a demon. "What did I say about keeping our words civil?" he whispered dangerously into her ear, as he tightened his grip. Right now, he wanted to cut off her limbs, and remove her eyelids as he used his boil release to melt her pink-haired daughter before her eyes, before dissolving the councilwoman as well. He had to hold himself back so he didn't succumb to his dark desires. "This is my last warning to you. Talk about my sister like that again, and I promise you, this village will have to find a new council member, consequences be damned." He whispered in a tone that made the woman wet herself in fear. He released his squeeze on her throat. "So how much do I owe the both of you?" he asked calmly. His calm demeanor following his fierce anger only scared everyone in the room. Well, I spent 30,000 ryo on her medical expenses. The Haruno mother stammered out. Naruto summoned a scroll that held some of his money and unsealed a large stack of money, amounting to somewhere around 100,000 ryo. He threw it at Mebuki's face with such force that it tipped her chair backwards and threw her onto the floor. "Here's your damn money, woman. Keep the change," he said in a calm, neutral tone, which didn't match his actions at all. "And you?" Tsume wasn't a soft civilian woman who wanted to charge for all the psychological damage done to her son. She knew Kiba had a brash mouth and said some dumb shit from time to time, and probably got what he deserved. However, the severity of injuries Kiba got was not acceptable, especially for a schoolyard fight that resulted from teasing. "We'll just take the amount we spent for his stitches and getting his nose set. 20,000 ryo will do," she told Naruto. He counted out 20,000 ryo and handed it to her, before resealing his scroll. "Now that that's settled, I'd like to hear Narumi's side as well," Naruto asked. Tsume got her money, and didn't want things to escalate beyond what was necessary. Her son was going to be a shinobi, and should be used to taking a few hits, and she had gotten into a few scraps in school herself in her youth. She decided to just be compliant and went along, as she nodded in agreement. Mebuki picked herself off the floor and wisely kept her mouth shut. Sakura and Kiba were terrified of Naruto, and gulped, fearing what was to come. Ruka and the director had their mouths hanging open, shocked from the events that just took place. It took them a few moments to gather themselves to respond. "Well, maybe it's best if Narumi explains," the director said, not wanting to mess up as he explained, lest he feels Naruto's wrath. Naruto agreed, and turned to Narumi, who shrank back at all the attention she was receiving. Naruto gave her a warm smile, and nodded at her to continue. Encouraged by her brother's presence, she explained what happened. Naruto listened attentively, but quietly, not interrupting her story once. When she finished speaking, he turned to face Ruka. "So, this is what happened?" Naruto asked. Ruka merely nodded. Tsume glared at her son, who had conveniently left out a lot of details to make him look more like the victim. Kiba couldn't meet his mom's stare. Mebuki was never bullied in her life. In fact, she bullied others when she was younger. As such, she didn't see what the big problem was. You see? It was just some good-natured joking amongst children, and she decided to overreact. She shouldn't be allowed to. "If you finish that sentence, it will be the last sentence you will ever say." Naruto cut her off. Mebuki caught herself mid-speech and shut her mouth. "It seems to me like you two raised some bullies, crowd followers, who can't see the difference between right and wrong, and don't care as long as they're part of the cool crowd. Maybe if their parents were more involved in their life, they wouldn't be such scummy people, who are so insecure in themselves that they have to bring others down to make themselves feel better. You're lucky it was just my sister this time. There are people out there who would kill your children for less. Consider it a private lesson in manners." Naruto fired back. "Now as this was just a small altercation between children, let's just forgive and forget this whole incident. After all, we've settled our differences and received our compensations, haven't we? Of course, Narumi will continue to attend the academy, and we won't have any complaints about that. Right? So can we wrap this up now? We're all busy people here, aren't we?" he forcefully concluded. Tsume just wanted to get out of there at this point, and Mebuki didn't feel like getting any more embarrassed than she already was, so they agreed. The children were sent back to class with Ruka, and the two parents and Anbu member left. The director couldn't have been happier to have his office to himself again. "I need a vacation," he thought to himself, back in the Anbu lounge. "Back so soon?" Ichi asked his blonde friend who appeared next to him in a shunshin. "So you still want to hear my story or save it?" "Thanks for the heads up by the way," Naruto grumbled as he glared at Ichi. Ichi just gave him a mirthful smirk. "You're welcome." Naruto changed back into his Anbu gear. Let's go find a bandit extermination mission or something. I need a palate cleanser after dealing with that Haruno bitch. Ichi shrugged and followed Naruto to the mission board. It would be good to get his mind off of his problems for a bit. School life for Narumi improved slightly after that incident. She was scared, thinking Naruto was going to scold her for getting into trouble in her first day, but Naruto actually encouraged her, and told her she handled it well. He told her that she shouldn't try to solve everything with her fists, but it was important to establish yourself as someone not to be trifled with, and she had done just that. She wasn't too thrilled to be going back to that jungle, which seemed out to get her, but when she got back to class, people didn't publicly try to humiliate her anymore. She took her seat next to Hinata and Sasuke, who gave her a smile and welcomed her back. PSSST. How did things go? Sasuke asked in a whisper. I'll tell you later. She whispered back. At least she had her friends to rely on. When it was time for lunch, the students scattered around the academy to eat. Narumi, Hinata, and Sasuke sat under a tree to eat the bentos made by their parents, and in Narumi's case, by Naruto. So how was it? Was Naruto-Nissen mad? Sasuke asked as they ate. I've never seen him that scary before. He was so angry, but luckily he wasn't mad at me. Narumi recalled. You should have seen the way he dealt with Sakura's mom. He was all like shut up or I'll kill you, and then he threw a bunch of money at her face to shut her up. He really did that? Hinata asked, mortified. She had never seen anyone act like that before. Sasuke also looked to Narumi, non-verbally asking the same thing. Well, not really, but basically. He told her to not be so rude, and she became real quiet after that. He told her that she was a bad mom, and not to be mean to me anymore or he'll get her back. Narumi recounted, leaving out the exact words used. Wow, he really said that to a councilwoman? That's very a broken bar brave of him. Hinata spoke, wishing she had the backbone to stand up for herself too. Naruto-Nissen is so cruel. I wonder how Uchiha-Nissen would have handled that? Sasuke thought to himself. So how did Sakura take her mother being yelled at by your brother? The trio turned to look at Sakura, who was a short distance away, telling her friend Ino a similar story as they had their lunch. Ino said something that made Sakura angrier. She turned around to glare at them too, probably when she reached the part of when Naruto manhandled her mom. The trio turned away from Sakura, and back towards themselves. Looks like she didn't like it. Hinata commented, and her two friends laughed. A little bit later, they were done eating, and were getting ready to get up from their meal, when they were approached by Ino. Hey! I'm Ino. I'm in your class. The three looked at each other, not knowing what the blonde girl wanted. Yeah. We know. What do you want? Narumi asked, not knowing why the blonde girl was talking to them. Wasn't she Sakura's friend? I just wanted to apologize for my friend. Sorry about what happened to you yesterday. Sakura's usually not that mean. I don't know what got into her yesterday. All those mean jokes yesterday. It's not right. Nobody should be bullied like that. Ino said as she stuck out her hand in apology. Narumi smiled when she sensed her sincerity. It's cruel. I noticed you weren't really involved in that, so you don't need to apologize. We're good. She shook Ino's hand to accept her apology. Great. Anyway, I was wondering if you wanted to hang out after school today? I want you to meet my friends Shikamaru and Chaji. Ino offered. That lazy guy and the big guy? Narumi asked. Ino giggled. Yup. Those two. They're kinda losers, but they're cool when you get to know them. Also, just as a heads up, when we see them, don't call Chaji the F word. My brother doesn't let me swear anyway. I'll keep that in mind. Narumi told Ino. The Yamanakan heiress giggled again before clarifying herself. I mean fat. Don't call Chaji fat. It's a clan thing, and he's sensitive about his weight. Oh, gotcha. Okay, we'll try to be cautious. Narumi answered. The bell rang, signifying the end of lunch, and the trio headed back to the class with their new friend. Narumi had a huge smile on her face. Maybe she would make some more friends today. That night, at the underground Uchiha shrine. For too long, has this village denied us of the respect we deserve. We bring much prestige to this village. We sacrifice our own time and safety, so that everyone can sleep in their beds in peace. We are the founders of this village. And yet, people see it fit to accuse us of a crime we are innocent of. Fugaku spoke to the gathered clansmen. Grumbles rang out throughout the gathered crowd, acknowledging what was said. There have been 4 Hokages and not one of them have been a Uchiha, despite us being the strongest clan, and producing numerous notable shinobi. Even now, 2 of the strongest shinobi in this village comes from our clan. None of the previous Hokages have acted in our interest, and have only sought to reduce our power, alienated us, driven us to edges of the village, while the Senju clan compound was at the center of the village. What else can you expect when the line of Hokages descend from our rival clan? It's time we put one of our own in the seat, Fugaku declared. There were cheers throughout the crowd. About time. I am tired of those Senju lapdogs. How will we manage to do that? The Sandaime has rejected our previous candidates, and those in the council will never vote an Uchiha in, even if it comes to a vote, as they fear our power. A voice from the crowd asked. My son Uchiha has the favor of the Hokage. I will propose him as a candidate at the next council meeting. There's no reason he should refuse. He is powerful, intelligent, and well-known and well-connected. There is no better candidate. If he is as wise as they say he is, Sarutobi will choose Uchiha as his successor. The Uchiha clan head replied. How about the Yondaime's son? A voice from the crowd asked. There's nothing to worry about regarding the Yondaime's son. He has no interest in taking the hat, and if anything, should be the biggest supporter of Uchiha. Fugaku said to assure the crowd, and they seemed to buy into the plan more and more. What if by some chance Uchiha is not chosen? Then what? Wait until the next generation's Hokage. A curious Uchiha asked. Fugaku paused for a second. He knew seditious feelings were spreading like wildfire amongst his clan. Change needed to occur, and fast. If this uneasy energy continued to fester undirected, it would explode uncontrollably. To prevent a pressurized pot from exploding, you needed to give it a vent to direct the energy. Unchecked, current affairs could lead to small groups of Uchiha rebelling under different leaders, only to be quelled with their numbers being too small to accomplish anything, whilst furthering the destruction of their clan's reputation, innocent or not. It could split the clan in half, and start a civil war in the clan. Worse yet, a clan-wide rebellion against the village under incompetent leadership could mean the utter destruction of his clan. No, he would control and direct this energy to minimize the damage to his clan. He would either peacefully place Uchiha as the next Hokage, or he would lead his clan into a coup that would minimize the bloodshed and destruction. He wanted to show the Uchiha's clan as capable leaders of Konoha, not as its destroyers. To accomplish this, he would need overwhelming force to force the opposition to submit without a fight. Then he could show mercy and be benevolent, and show the Uchiha clan aren't simply power-hungry, they just needed a chance to prove their capacity as leaders, a chance that never seemed to come their way. Fugaku spoke after a brief pause. If he doesn't become Hokage, we'll have to take the hat by force. Murmurs and gasps broke out from the crowd. As strong as we are, how could we take on the whole village? Someone from the crowd asked. Fugaku answered with a sly grin. We'll use the kyubi. The crowd went silent. Maybe this could work after all. 2 figures in the back looked at each other in concern. Shizui whispered to Uchiha, I don't know about you, but this sounds a lot like treason to me. Uchiha said nothing, but gave the smallest of nods. It looked like he would soon be forced to choose between his clan and his village if things didn't improve. He hoped it wouldn't come down to that. At the Namikaze Uzumaki household. Did you try the seafood ramen from Kiri? It's so good. Narumi yelled out, savoring the taste of her birthday gift. She seemed to be in a very good mood, and Naruto had a feeling it wasn't just about the ramen. Yup. That's why I got it. It's hard to find these days though, with the civil war going on in Kiri and all. He replied. But that's not why you're in such a good mood, is it? He asked his smiling sister. Well, partly. But also, I made 3 new friends today. I doubled the number of friends I have in a single day. Narumi proudly announced. 3 friends in one day, huh? Impressive. So, who are they? Naruto asked. Well, there's Shikamaru, Chaji, and Ino. I met them after school. Well, Ino introduced me to the other 2, after we talked at lunch. Narumi told her brother. Ino? Is that the Yamanaka's girl? He asked, seeing a similarity between her name and Inoichi. Perhaps he would visit her later to thank her. Yup. She's pretty cool. She came to apologize because she felt bad that her friend Sakura was bullying me. Narumi told Naruto as she slurped up more noodles. I see. That is quite nice of her. Looks like not everyone is a giant butthole, huh? Naruto said to Narumi, who laughed, revealing half-chewed noodles to Naruto. She needs to work on her table manners if she ever wants to find a boyfriend, Naruto thought. But then again, I don't have a girlfriend either, so I guess that's that. He smiled at her, happy to see things were beginning to turn around for her. He had been worried she'd never make more friends, especially after that unpleasant meeting this morning. Maybe things will start changing for the better. He hoped. He couldn't be more wrong. At the next monthly council meeting. How is our rebuilding process looking this month? Any updates? The Sandaime Hokage asked his council. It had been over 7 years since the Kyuubi attack, and while they had rebuilt most of their village's physical infrastructure, they had yet to recover completely. It wasn't so easy to replace experienced shinobi, as it took years of training, and then even more years of gathering experience. It was a little easier to replace craftsmen and business people, as the replacements now had something like 7 years of experience under their belts. Still, they were still a work in process, and couldn't equate to the skilled workforce who had perished in the attack, as they had decades of experience. Our economic sector is slowly, but steadily recovering still. We've had a 5% increase in productivity from our workforce compared to the same time last year, and we're getting close to reaching 90% of our pre-Kyuubi levels of revenue from business and trade. One civilian council member reported. Still, that's not to say everything is all rosy. We're still short of reaching our goal in trade revenue. The quality of our products still hasn't reached pre-Kyuubi levels, and their image in other villages are even lower than their actual quality. We currently need to secure more trade partners. Mebuyuki reported. We've received reports from our team in Kusakure, Hidden Grass Village. They say talks have been going well, and we might have them as trade partners in a bigger capacity if talks go through. A different civilian councilor added. Good, good. I knew I made the right choice sending that team. Hiruzen said in approval to that bit of news. Looked like things were slowly improving in Konoha, though not as fast as they hoped. Still, some progress was better than none. Only problem is that our revenue is increasing, but our expenditure is still way too high for us to be saving up any significant kind of money. Our coffers are still nearly empty, and we have nothing in terms of emergency funds. Another disaster to the village, and we might not be able to recover. Mebuyuki told Hiruzen. Perhaps we could ramp up mission frequency again? She suggested to the old Hokage. The Nara clan head spoke up. Our emergency level of mission frequency is unsustainable. Our shinobi began to decrease in efficacy after a few months of non-stop missions, which started to impact the image of the quality and efficiency of our shinobi. It might make more money in the short term, but it does more harm than good in the long run. Which is why we stopped doing that and started giving adequate time to rest after missions again. Shikaku explained to the civilian council, who didn't understand shinobi matters that well. He is correct, Councilor Haruno. Shikaku, please tell us the current state of shinobi affairs. The old Sarutobi asked. Hi Hokage-sama. We've been able to add to the number of jonin we have, coming close to 87% of pre-Kyuubi numbers, but they don't have as much experience as the shinobi we lost, who were battle-tested veterans of the Third Shinobi War. Honestly, Their quality is slightly questionable. We have quite a few promising chunin, however, though the overall number of chunin are slightly smaller than what we were hoping for due to the number of promotions we were forced to give to meet the required number of jonin. The Sandame frowned. Quantity over quality, it seemed. Oh well. The quantity could gain more experience and gain the quality with time. How's our image in terms of shinobi quality? The old man asked. Luckily our small drop in shinobi quality hasn't been noticed by the others. We've also produced a few gems to fill in the shoes of the fallen, and if anything, prodigies like Shizui, Ichi, and Naruto are giving the appearance that we are still just as strong. Team Omega is also striking fear into the hearts of many and have given our Anbu a huge boost in reputation. Our Anbu have never been in a better position before. Shikaku reported. The Anbu commander smirked under his mask. Excellent. We are quite fortunate that we have had young talent who have stepped up to go above and beyond our expectations. Hiruzen commented. We also have some reports from Jiraiya-sama. Shikaku told the Sandame. Let's hear it. Hiruzen gave Shikaku permission to speak. According to Jiraiya-sama, his spy network has heard reports of an uneasy atmosphere and strange, unconfirmed activity from Amegakure, Hidden Rain Village. We haven't been able to confirm anything, as no one has been able to enter or leave AIM without Hanzo knowing. This is troubling. I'll look for a team to go confirm these reports. The Sandame stated. There are also reports from our spies in Iwagakure, Hidden Stone Village, and Kumagakure, Hidden Cloud Village. They're beginning to suspect that we are not in as strong of a position as we are projecting to the world. Shikaku told the council. He paused for a moment to say what was next on the report. This was troublesome news after all. Apparently they're also wondering if you are as strong of a leader as you once were. That is absurd. What makes them think that all of a sudden? Akamakicha Uza blurted out in question. It's not all of a sudden. Our spies suspect our handling of the Hyuga incident may have planted seeds of doubt in their minds. The wreckage took a gamble to probe our position, and he may have gotten lucky with his guess. Hiruzen sighed. The wreckage had been furious. His ambassador came back in what was essentially a glorified shoebox. He accused Konoha of breaching the terms of their peace treaty. When Konoha explained it was in retaliation to the ambassador's attempted kidnapping of the Hyuga heiress, Kuma refused to believe them, and threatened them with war. Konoha was in no position for a war with the most militaristic village who also had the largest shinobi forces. It had only been 3 years since the Kubai destroyed a huge portion of the village, and they simply could not afford a fight. They appeased Kuma with a large sum of money, which they had to pay in installments, and a new treaty that was favorable to Kuma. Danzo seethed. He had argued that they should call Kumo's bluff. As damaged as they were, they could still put up a fight. His Rutanbu could be used in asymmetrical warfare, hitting Kumo in unexpected and crucial spots, but still leaving Kumo unaware of the culprits. Kumo wouldn't risk throwing themselves into a war to gain little, over a wrong they knew they committed. Hiruzen didn't want to risk it, however, and disregarded Danzo's advice. Danzo knew he had been too soft. The bandaged elder spoke up. While we aren't in as weak of a position as they suspect or hope, they aren't completely wrong either. You aren't as strong as you once were, Hiruzen. It's time you start to consider choosing a successor. The strength Danzo was referring to wasn't in terms of fighting prowess, and more in strength to make hard decisions. Hiruzen had successfully led them through the Third Shinobi War, but had come out a changed man. He hated war, and wanted to avoid war at all costs. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Leave it to Danzo to talk about switching Hokages. His bandaged teammate had wanted to be Hokage since the Second Shinobi War, and didn't even try to hide it. Well, I'm not as young as I once was, Danzo, but I assure you, I am still strong enough to protect this village from internal and external threats. He warned Danzo subtly. Perhaps Hokage-sama. But maybe it's best you choose a successor and groom him for the position while you're still strong, so that we may have a peaceful and seamless transition. Shibi, the Aburame clan head, proposed. Fugaku saw this as the opening he had been waiting for. Might I suggest my son Uchiha for the position? As we all know, he is one of our rising stars. One of our best and brightest. He is wise beyond his years. Perhaps Hokage-sama could groom him for 6 years, until he reaches 20. Aren't you worried he'll be too young? Hiruzen asked Fugaku. He liked the boy, but he was currently 14, and better off in the field than in the office. He was one of the few that upheld the reputation of Konoha after all. He is only 14 in age, Hokage-sama. Mentally I'd say he's already more thoughtful and wiser than most people twice his age. Also, his young age could be a benefit for us. With you as an advisor, especially when he is younger, he could get the experience he needs for the job. Taking the mantle at a young age and guided by one of our finest Hokages, he could lead for a long time, giving the village the stability it has lacked recently. Fugaku reasoned. Hiruzen thought about it. It wasn't completely preposterous. It wasn't like his own students were up for the role like he had wished. Jiraiya refused the role, saying he needed freedom to maintain his spy network. Tsunade hated the Hokage position so much that she had left the village, claiming the position itself had stolen what was most precious from her. As for Orochimaru? Well, let's just say he was never going to be considered again. Opposition to Fugaku's suggestion sprang up from his political rival. You can't consider this nonsense, Hokage-sama. You would have a 14-year-old boy as your first choice for a successor? Granted, the boy is a powerful shinobi, but he doesn't have the political acumen necessary to lead a village. It takes more than knowing how to kill people to lead a village. It would be much more prudent to have an older, more experienced shinobi for the role. One of us should be considered if anything. Clan heads have experience managing the affairs of a clan, and are well versed in politics as well. Many in the council nodded at that. He did raise some good points. Besides, the Uchiha's scheme is as clear as day. He means to place his son as a puppet Hokage, whilst he rules from behind the scenes. We can't trust the Uchiha yet. We have no evidence they were not behind the attack in the first place. The Hyuga mentioned smugly. You dare bring that up again? How many times must we prove our loyalty? Why is our loyalty in question when we've done nothing but prove ourselves over and over? Our clan has done much more for this village than the Hyuga clan ever will. Fugaku yelled as he slammed his fist on the table. What? How dare you? Hayashi also stood up. Arguments and insults began to fly across the council room, and other clans began to get involved as well. It was pure chaos. Hiruzen silenced them with a shout. Silence. He released a pulse of killing intent to get their attention, and the angry clan heads began to simmer down as they sat down quietly. After much consideration, I have deemed Uchiha unfit to be a candidate due to his age and lack of experience. We will consider him again in the future if I don't find a better option. I will continue as Hokage for now. I hope you all can behave yourselves better next meeting. Council dismissed. Hiruzen concluded the meeting angrily, disappointed that his council were not above acting like children. The Uchiha clan head left the room angrily. He had proposed a peaceful solution, and all he got in return were insults and mockery. He had no faith in the council. He now knew for certain, from this experience with Uchiha, and many previous experiences with Uchiha candidates, that Konoha would never allow an Uchiha to be Hokage. If they didn't want to play along, he would take matters into his own hands. At the academy. It had been over a month since Narumi had entered the academy now, and things had improved since the disaster in the first day. She was still hated and avoided by most of her classmates, but at least they didn't openly insult her anymore. She still heard them whispering behind her back, and she could sense the negative emotions they had towards her. Still, things were much better and more bearable now that she had more friends. She had grown closer to Ino, Shikamaru, and Chachi over the past month, and last week Aburame Shino joined their little group. Due to her kind and compassionate nature, and being an outcast herself, Narumi didn't like seeing others being alone. She had noticed the other children avoiding the Aburame boy, grossed out by the bugs that crawled all over him. She didn't mind as much, and began to talk to him, and eventually convinced him to hang out with them. Ugh! I hate stupid math class. All this stupid homework. I don't even understand what the heck they're saying half the time. Why is Hideko buying 47 watermelons anyway? And why is Tamaki splitting his tonkatsu between 3 people? Who shares one tonkatsu with 3 people? Just order one per person. Gosh, they're stingier than Nani-chan. It makes no sense. Narumi groaned as she looked down at her book, which seemed to mock her. The Akemaki clan heir nodded in agreement as he shoved a handful of chips into his mouth. Sharing tonkatsu? The question would have made more sense if it asked why Tamaki ordered 4 more for himself. Perhaps they are on a diet. Why? I do not know, but I have observed many people, including our own classmates, consume less calories for some reason. The Aburame boy offered. It's to maintain our figure, Shino. Some of us actually care about how we look. Ino said defensively as she glanced at Sasuke to gauge his response. She and Sakura had fallen for Sasuke, like many others, and had been dieting in their attempt to look their best to get his attention. Sasuke didn't seem to care. She had been hanging out with him in their group for a while now, and she still couldn't crack his code. Ino wasn't the type of girl to give up easily though. Being a Yamanaka, she couldn't help but be drawn to mind games. People's psychologies were something begging to be analyzed. She'd find what made Sasuke tick, one day or another. Speaking of Sakura, the two were slowly drifting apart. Initially it was because Ino wanted to be Narumi's friend, but Sakura didn't, especially after she saw her mother get humiliated by Narumi's brother. Sakura had made new friends and the other bullies now anyway, and didn't need Ino as much. Their rivalry on getting Sasuke's attention just drove the wedge in deeper. Hinata giggled at her friend's interaction. Perhaps you could ask the teachers for extra help after school? She proposed. Many students got some after-school tutoring to get help in subjects they were struggling in, whether it was history or shuriken throwing. PFFFTT. As if those stupid butt faces would help me anyway. Narumi rolled her eyes. The redhead's skills in taijutsu and with weapons were increasing steadily. She seemed to grasp the concepts very quickly with a little practice. However, she struggled with more academic studies, and Naruto was often away on missions, unable to help Narumi in her book studies very often. She had tried her hand at getting help from her instructors, but many of them didn't like her either. They were unable to refuse their help outright, as rumors of Naruto's fierce retaliation to the Haruno woman had spread amongst the teachers, and they feared his wrath. However, they did the bare minimum, and didn't try to hide their displeasure. Narumi could sense the negative emotions, and found it hard to concentrate. She eventually lost the drive to ask for help, as she found it pointless. They made it clear they didn't want to help her, even if they didn't say it. She stopped asking for help, and started only coming to school to see her friends, as the teachers didn't care how she did in school, and largely ignored her. She stopped caring about her academic side, and focused on her physical training. It was much more fun training with her Nichan, than reading some dumb book anyway. However, it wasn't just Narumi who had problems with their progress. Sasuke had also been frustrated as of late. While his performance in school was stellar, he had been unsatisfied with himself when it came to physical capabilities. He was one of the top performers in his class in that regard as well, but he had higher standards for himself. He wanted to step out of Uchiha's shadow and show himself as a prodigy as well. Naruto and Uchiha were both busy people. However, if Naruto had even the smallest sliver of time, he would spend it with Narumi, and help her with her training. Uchiha on the other hand, had other obligations to his clan, and it was getting harder and harder for Sasuke to get training time with him. His mother offered to help, but he wanted help from Uchiha, maybe even Shizui, but both of them seemed busier these days, and harder to find. Even when he did find them, they had grim looks on their faces, and were not focused on him, even when they did train him. He was starting to get envious of Narumi. At least Naruto always had time for her. At a discreet, isolated part of the village. Ichi and Shizui had been having problems of their own. Their clan was on the verge of a coup, and they seemed to be part of a very, very small minority that was against it. They had been trying to calm the situation down, and work towards cooperation with the village, but it had been largely unsuccessful. Last night, Fugaku-sama asked me to use my Mangekyo Sharingan on Narumi when the time comes. Shizui told his younger cousin with a resentful look. Shizui was one of the very, very select group of people in the clan who had awakened their Mangekyo Sharingan, awakening it a few years prior, when he was forced to kill his own teammate during a mission that went south. He regretted telling the clan head of his development. Does he really intend to release the Kyuubi again? Ichi asked out loud, though he was really asking himself. He knew if the Kyuubi was released, or even if its chakra was used, there was no way that Narumi would come out unscathed. She was like a little sister to him, and he didn't want her to be hurt. Why was his father being like this? I'm not sure, but we can't take the chance. It will be a catastrophe for the village. We still haven't recovered from the Kyuubi's attack 7 years ago. Shizui responded. We need to tell Hokage-sama about this. And betray the clan? This could be the nail in the coffin for the Uchiha clan. Ichi asked his cousin. A nail and coffin that our clan is making for itself. Shizui answered. He sighed, seeing Ichi's hopeless look. Hokage-sama is a reasonable and peaceful man. I'm sure he can help us come up with a peaceful solution. Ichi thought about it. And if he can't? Maybe Hokage-sama will just punish the ringleaders and let the rest of the clan off. We are a crucial part of both its internal security and shinobi forces after all. If not? Ichi asked. Shizui paused. Then the clan will have to pay the price for treason. We're at the crossroads, Ichi. Whether you want to make the choice between clan and village, the choice will be forced upon you, if you wait long enough. Maybe if you choose earlier, we can reduce the damage. Shizui seemed to have made his choice already, though Ichi was not ready to make that decision yet. He was sworn as a shinobi of Konoha, to protect her from all dangers, internal and external. But how could he betray his clan? His own flesh and blood? He was unsure of where his loyalty lied. He was still thinking, when his Anbu tattoo started tingling, signaling that he was being summoned. I have to go, Ichi told Shizui, as he vanished. A shunshin of crows. Man, the whole crow shunshin thing was my thing. Shizui complained out loud to no one in particular, glaring at the empty spot where Ichi stood a second ago. Totally stole it. Damn Uchiha and stealing people's jutsu? He complained ironically. At the Hokage's office. Ichi appeared in the Hokage's office to fight Naruto and the Hokage waiting for him. You summoned Hokage-sama? The young Uchiha Anbu captain asked. I did. I have a mission for you and Naruto-kun. The Sandaime began. We've received reports of strange activity from AIM. There are reports of clashes between at least 2 different groups. Amegakure's shared border with us means whatever is going on there could spill over. We need to know what's going on. We have been unable to gather any information from AIM for the last 15 years due to Hanzo's iron fist ruling over Amegakure, and his paranoia, but that lack of information makes the situation potentially more dangerous. We know close to nothing about what has been going on there. Will we be leading our respective teams? The Yondaime's son asked. The aged Hokage shook his head. Due to this being an undercover mission, we can't afford to send out large numbers, and risk detection. Hence, we are sending just you, 2 of our finest, especially when it comes to infiltration. Understood. We will not fail you, Hokage-sama. Ichi answered. Naruto nodded in agreement. The Sandaime nodded back. I know. Anything else, Hokage-sama? Naruto asked. If you 2 are detected, your priority is to escape. Do not engage in combat unless it's a matter of life and death. We can't risk another war. Hiruzen told the 2, who nodded and vanished from the office to leave for their assignment immediately. The old man pulled out his pipe and began to smoke as he thought about the blonde boy who left his office a minute ago. He always felt guilty when he looked at the boy. He felt as if he should have done more for him following his parents' demise. but he was just so busy. It wasn't easy maintaining order after such a disaster, with thousands of deaths and destroyed properties, and it wasn't easy overseeing its reconstruction either. He was swamped with responsibilities, and his second term in office had aged him considerably, due to the stress. Still, he felt as if he had failed to protect the boy and his sister from the wolves in the council, and he definitely failed to protect their inheritance. He had been the biggest voice opposing the use of their inheritance for the rebuilding of the village, but he had been outvoted by the council, who argued that the village was in a precarious position and needed the fund immediately. They argued 2 children didn't need that much money right now and the needs of the village outweighed their comfort. He tried to salvage the situation somewhat, by making the council promise to refill the Namikaze Uzumaki bank account when the village was in a better position. They agreed, but that day seemed to be far off. He had also looked after the 2 by keeping political enemies off of Naruto's back. Naruto was powerful, one of the top 10 strongest in the village, but he was terrible with politics, rarely considering the consequences of his actions. His latest incident with the Haruno woman had made her an enemy, and she wasn't the first. He barely had any friends, both personally and politically. He had also vetoed any bill or proposition that regarded weaponizing Narumi. He was very clear about how he felt, and the last person who proposed using Narumi in such a way received lashes and was imprisoned, just like Hiruzen promised to. The number of such propositions dropped to 0 after that. Still, he felt terrible he couldn't protect Naruto's innocence and childhood. The boy was forced to grow up at the age of 7, and essentially had to become an adult overnight. At least mentally and emotionally. He had a heavy burden on his shoulder, and Hiruzen wished he could have done more to help him as he puffed away on his pipe. Days later, somewhere on the border of Amegakure and Hinokuni, 2 Anbu, one with a fox mask, and the other with a weasel mask, stealthily moved across the border, into the country where Amegakure was based. The 2 slowly moved closer and closer to AIM itself, and they had even stopped talking to each other, communicating with Anbu hand signals only to remain undiscovered. They moved in the rain for hours, until Fox spotted somewhere they could camp for the night undetected, getting them out of the storm rain, and signed this information to Weasel, who simply nodded. They sat down to eat their nutrition bars, tasteless things that did nothing but give them the calories and nutrients they needed. They didn't start a fire, not wanting to risk being spotted, or leave a trail. The 2 were eating in silence when they heard a commotion a short distance away. The 2 looked at each other, and nodded. They used their own camouflage jutsu to become unseen, Fox using his Amegakure no jutsu, hiding in camouflage technique, while Weasel cast a powerful genjutsu over himself to make people overlook his presence. They slowly creeped closer behind some rocks they could hide behind, while still having a view at what was going on. AIM Shinobi were fighting a group of people who were poorly dressed. They had no identifying Hittite, but seemed to be Shinobi, based on the fact that they were using Suidan Jutsu to fight back against the AIM Shinobi. However, they were too few in number, and had old people, children, and other civilians with them that they had to protect, and were promptly cut down by Hanzo's men. Fox assumed the refugees, or who he thought were refugees based on their attire and composition, would now be captured, only to be shocked when the AIM nin slaughtered all of them, including the children. They left their bodies there for the scavengers, only taking their valuables. Fox fumed, thinking that could have easily been someone like his sister, while Weasel saw their destruction and drew parallels to what could happen to his own family. The 2 waited until the AIM nin left before they went and examined the bodies that were callously left behind. They seemed to all be related to each other. A clan perhaps? What were they doing in AIM? Didn't they know better than to cross its borders? The 2 gathered all the information they needed before deciding to continue their info gathering. Was this the clashes they were told to look into? Refugees being slaughtered? They suspected either there was some other group that was clashing with Hanzo's men, and this was a coincidental, random, and unfortunate encounter, or there were more refugees coming this way, only to be slaughtered, driven here by something. Whatever it was, They needed to find out what it was. They moved out, moving closer to Amegakure, until they came across a small village that was under AIM jurisdiction. They infiltrated the village to gather more information. They agreed to split up to search, and meet up again at a promised location within 10 hours. Fox spent some time looking around, eavesdropping when he could, and searching behind locked doors, which he easily picked. He eventually stumbled upon a house which seemed to be a depot of confiscated goods, and also a drop point for Hanzo's men, who left things here to be picked up and taken to AIM. He found a Fujitsu scroll, which he sealed away immediately. He would look through them when he was in a safer place. The rest of the things there didn't really catch his interest, and he left them in their place. He finally reached the last room, which had a multitude of locks on it to prevent people from entering. However, to someone like Fox, they might as well have not been there. He used his uniquely high fire release affinity to create a small jet of blue flames to cut through all the locks and bolts. He was shocked at the loot he found here. It was full of higher rank jutsu scrolls which he sealed promptly, as well as some money and gems, which he greedily sealed away with a lustful smile and slightly crazy eyes. But the CRA-me of the loot was probably worth more than all the money and gems he sealed away. He had no idea why these things were here, but he knew he was going to make good use of them, especially the one his eyes were locked on. He had always wanted one of his own, but now he had one right before him. A summoning scroll. Elsewhere in the village, Weasel has been eavesdropping some of Hanzo's shinobi who had been talking about a certain rebel group that they had been fighting. He was surprised someone dared to go against Hanzo the Salamander. He was known as the strongest shinobi of his time, and had even defeated 3 of the strongest shinobi that Konoha had at the time, simultaneously. He was the one who had given them their legendary title, which they carried with pride, even though they received it after they lost a 3-on-1 fight against the man. The legendary Sannin of Konoha could not stack up against the man, and now he was hearing there was a man who dared to go against Hanzo. What kind of madness was this? He thought he heard enough and was planning to slip away, when he felt a hand on his shoulder. He was surprised someone was able to see through his genjutsu, and turned around to face his opponent. He dropped his genjutsu when he saw a group of 12 AIM Jonin and Shunin, looking for a fight. Like what you heard? Hope you did, since it's the last thing you're gonna hear. The man who appeared to be their leader said. Weasel activated his Sharingan under his mask and got ready to spill some blood. The man who had his hand on Weasel's shoulder had a direct view of the young Anbu captain, but didn't even see him move when suddenly the hand he had on the Anbu no longer belonged to him. He hadn't even been able to process the fact that he had one less hand, when he found himself looking at his body from a low angle he had never seen before. That was the last thing he saw before his life left his eyes. Weasel kicked the severed head into the crowd, making them shift their bodies to avoid the bloody head. He used that moment to rapidly flash through some hand seals to set up his Gun, Hosenka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Phoenix Sage Flower Jutsu, which sent several fireballs into the crowd. He used the distraction to Kawarimi away. The Aimnin believed their numerical superiority would have scared the Anbu member, when suddenly their leader's head was kicked towards them, and weren't ready for the large balls of fire that seemed to target individuals rather than coming in randomly. Some of the ones slower to react died quickly, when the shuriken hidden inside the flames pierced their skulls, and the surrounding flames cooked their flesh to a well-done state. The faster ones were able to either jump away, or use Suidan Jutsu of their own to try to block the fireballs, but the Suidan users who remained stationary were also caught unaware of the shuriken hidden inside and were injured by the projectiles. Within 2 seconds, they went from having the element of surprise and numerical superiority, to being the ones caught surprised, and having their numbers cut down to 8, with 2 injured. A scared Chunin ran from the fight, claiming he would bring back up. Shit. Weasel thought. He would have to finish this up quick and get out of here. The Aimnin had gotten over their initial surprise and started searching for the Anbu captain, who had switched places with the severed head after he kicked it, and hid his presence. From behind the group, he used his Anbu Chokudo to cut down the 2 injured stragglers, and now had 5 more to go. The 5 remaining Aimnin were the 5 of the strongest Jonin from the group, and the fight from there on was a little bit more difficult for Weasel, especially when they came at him together with a combination of swords and Suidan Jutsu. They looked like they had been working together for a while, with their excellent teamwork. He used his Sharingan to track their movement to weave through their attacks, getting close enough to enter within the Kinjutsu user's guard. Their long-reach weapons came back to bite them, as in ultra-close range, their swords became unwieldy, while Weasel used his kunai to quickly deliver precise stabs to major organs and veins. In a short couple of minutes, he had killed the last of his attackers. When the scared Chunin returned with 30 Amegakure in, all of the remaining Shinobi stationed in the village. Shit, was the one word that went through Weasel's mind. A few minutes later, Weasel hid behind a wall of a house that was now ruined from the fight between him and the Aim Shinobi, as he tried to strategize. He had killed 13 of them, but he was handicapped by not trying to draw too much attention to his location by using big, flashy jutsu. Luckily, Weasel excelled in subtle and quiet killing methods as well, and had successfully taken care of almost half of them. He peered over his shoulder and saw 25 dead bodies strewn all over, and blood everywhere. Suddenly he saw dead Uchiha in their place, the blood staining the ground of the Uchiha compound red, the night sky red, with a full moon hanging over the sky, staring down at him, as if it were a giant eye that seemed to tell him it had witnessed everything. The vision shocked him. It was a nightmare for someone who loved his clan. The vision faded away as quickly as it came, but it had paralyzed him for a second, which the Aim Ninja capitalized to attack him from all angles. He activated his Sharingan and pulled out his Chokudo, but he knew there was no way he was getting out of this unscathed. Stupid. He never should have spaced out like that. That was very unlike him. He had never done anything like that before. And now, he would pay the price for such a rookie mistake. He braced to receive multiple stabs, but he suddenly felt chakra latch onto him, and he was replaced in a Kawarimi. He looked at where he was standing just a second ago, and saw Fox take all the stabs that were intended for him. Then Fox disappeared in a puff of smoke. A cage bunshin, thank Kami. The Aim Shinobi now committed the same mistake that they tried to capitalize on, and froze when a different target suddenly appeared and vanished with a puff of smoke. They had no time to react when a giant blue ball of fire hit them and incinerated them. They died together instantly. What the hell was that, Weasel? Get your head in the game. Fox yelled out to Weasel. Whatever was bothering him was now putting them in danger. I've never seen you freeze up like that. What was that all about? He asked Weasel. Sorry. I just thought I saw something that wasn't there. It won't happen again. Weasel told Fox. It better not. Fox told Weasel. We got what we came for, now let's get out of this dump. Weasel agreed, and the two took off. They quickly left in silence, heading towards the border with Kusa, to throw off their trail. Somewhere on Kusa territory. Weasel broke the silence after a few hours. Thanks, Fox. Things could have ended a lot worse than it did. I didn't expect you to show up there. Fox replied back to Weasel. Ah, whatever, man. Of course, I was gonna rescue your ass. We're practically family after all. I'll always have your back. Weasel stared at Fox for a brief moment in silence, before he nodded. Yes, Fox was indeed his family. In fact, he was more family than some in the clan who shared his flesh and blood, if that made any sense. His mind began to work overtime, as two sides of him fought each other, as he struggled to make a decision. He had two families, and he was being forced to choose one over the other. How could he make such a decision? Thank you for watching.